Hi, this is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm live this Sunday afternoon. It's about 7:30 here Central Standard Time in Pensacola, Florida. I just want to say hi to all my peeps out there. I wasn't live last Sunday only because it was Mother's Day, and I wanted to show off the beautiful bouquet I got from my son. This is the first time I've gotten a bouquet from my 20-some-year-old son. I can't believe I have a son that old, but it's kind of one of those things, I think, that if you're a mother and you get something like this for the first time, it really is kind of impactful. So I've been enjoying it all week, and I just want to say, if sometimes he hops on and watches my videos because he's in the military, so he's away, just to hear my voice and see my face. So if you see this, thank you so much. Beautiful flowers. They've brightened my day, and I'm really enjoying them, and I'm showing them off. So thank you, my son. Okay, I hope everyone had a good Mother's Day. Thank you for letting me share. It is mid-May. Still social distancing through crafting. I did post a video on my reveal for my catalog pre-order. I just put in another pre-order, so I'll be doing another one. And I really focused on that to see all kinds of different cards that I could make, projects that I could make that were just not samples. So what I'd like to do, though, is I want to focus on some fancy fold cards. These are the two that this is the one we're going to make tonight. This is the one. Now, I just posted the video last week on this double gatefold card, and the difference between this card and the card that's on Facebook right now, or rather on YouTube right now, that is a double or triple gatefold, fancy gatefold card, is that instead of putting the different strips or layers, you just have one piece in the front, and then it just simply opens like that. And I hand stamped the paper for this card. So all of that is hand stamped designer series paper, and the set that I'm featuring is this wonderful set here called Geared Up Garage. So that's the set we're going to be using. This is the card we're going to be making, and this is a fancy fold, and you can see if you open this up like this, you will have a little sentiment that you can hide in there. So we're going to put this together, and we're also going to hand stamp the designer series, the paper for this, since the designer series paper, though I have a pack, it's retired. I held on to this. I do hold on to my papers because I just love this, but because it's retired, I could make more cards with it, except I want to show you how to stamp your own paper for this card. So let's go ahead and get started. And let me go ahead and transition. Okay, it's giving me an error saying that my stream status, okay, it's healthy now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So again, here's our card that we kind of mimics the other card that we made, which is a nice way to kind of use that other tutorial and come up with a nice Father's Day card. And here is the card that we're going to be making. Now, I have cut out some special directions for this card, simply because it took me a couple tries to get this one down. And in fact, I'll even show you all my efforts here. Here's my kind of my mock-up, which shows all the different dimensions of the strips of paper and where they go. Okay, and then this is a mock-up of my designer series paper that I stamped, and then I made some mistakes on scoring and on cutting, so I want to correct that. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of cardstock 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. This is going to be your base card right here. And then we are going to need the next layer, which is going to be the layer we're going to stamp, is going to be, and let me put this card like this so you can kind of see how it's going to go. So these solid lines are going to be the lines that we're going to cut. These dashed lines are going to be the lines that we're going to score, and we're basically going to cut a U here, and then we're going to score these lines, which are going to allow this this piece of cardstock to bend. We're then going to have in the back of this piece, we're going to have several pieces, and they're going to be one's going to be 1 1/4 by 1, then you're going to have 4 by 1, and then you're going to have 3 1/2 by 1 1/4. Now, this is going to be the little piece right here that comes out. So I kind of put a little area here because this is where you want to stamp your sentiment, and you want to do this first before you do anything else. Then you have this pull tab, which is going to be this piece right here, and I brought in this punch. This is a retired punch, but it's a tab punch, and I used this to kind of make this little tab piece right here. And then last but not least, this is going to be the cross piece, which is this piece that runs along the bottom of your cardstock in order for your fancy fold card to open. So that's this piece right here. So these are all the pieces and parts. I'm going to put them here because they're going to be like my little reminders so I can keep straight as I cut these out, because I'm going to cut them with you. And then I'm just going to put this one here. Now this was kind of tough to open and close. I hope it's better on the next one, and I'm thinking it's because it's not quite in the middle. The other thing that's blocking it with this design is that this tab it's got a little lip here. So I'm wondering if I should have this piece go all the way up to the top, because it kind of gets caught right there. So so that's another piece. So the colors of cardstock that I'm using are going to be, I'm using Real Red, Crumb Cake, and Very Vanilla. I'm using the stamp set Geared Up Garage, and let me hop over and pick up the other stamp set. So sorry for that. I cleaned up my stamping area and put this away because I've had this out because I've been using it for so many cards, and I couldn't find it. So it took me a few minutes to find it, but here it is. I'm using these framelits that come from the So Sentimental suite. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that aside. I'm also going to use some embossing powder to emboss our Happy Father's Day, or I can just stamp it. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to bring my cutter in here, because what I'm going to cut this. My base card is going to be red, and my base card is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So there's my base card. So I'm going to cut this 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, base card done. Then I need to cut the piece that we're going to stamp, and that is going to be 5 by 5. And I'm going to cut a couple of these just because I've got an extra should something happen. So I'm going to cut 1, and I'm going to cut 2, just because I'm live and I'm trying to kind of move quickly. Okay, so I have my 2 layered pieces. I'm going to take a piece of, I'm going to need a piece of real red, and this is the piece that I'm going to use to cut my, the top of my sentiment, and then I'm going to need just a piece of Very Vanilla to stamp that. So I'm going to have these 2 put aside. Now I want to cut all my little pieces, which I'm going to use crumb cake. So let me take my crumb cake here, and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4. No, I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2 right here. Okay, so I've got this at 5 1/2. So my first one's going to be a 3 1/2 by, well, let's go with 4 1/4, because that's my longest piece. So if we go with 4 1/4, then our first one is 4 1/4 by 1 inch. And let me just make sure I get that one straight. Well, 4 1/4 by 1 inch. Okay, then this one is going to be, this is going to be by 1 inch. So my next one's going to be by 1 inch. Only it's going to be 4, not 4 1/4. This one's 4 1/4. And then this one's going to be 4. Okay, so I have my 4 1/4 and my 4. So let me put my 4 1/4 and my 4. And then I'm going to cut my 1 1/4. It's 1 1/4, which is right there, which I have. And this is going to be 3 1/2, which is going to be right there. All right, so now I have all my pieces and parts for my cards. They're all right here. So I'm just going to kind of line them up so I have I know where my different pieces are. Okay, so I'm going to put those right there. Now this is my base card. I don't really need to do anything with this right now, but I'm going to take my the card, which is the card I'm going to stamp. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. Okay, and I'm going to put my paper right here on my Stamparatus. So let's just put it right here in the middle. And I'm going to grab my car. And I'm going to put my car right about there, okay? And then I'm going to grab another plate from my Stamparatus. and I'm going to show you what I've done in advance. Now you remember this technique I've been showing you is I take a piece of craft foam, and with the craft foam I stamp StazOn on it, and that is how I'm going to color. That is how I'm going to color my card. If you look at my car, you'll notice that my car is colored on this paper, and that's how I colored it, just to kind of make it pop. So we're going to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and stamp this with Memento Black. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to put this piece of craft foam right there. And I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to pick it up with a little bit of glue. Pick it up with a little bit of glue. And you'll see I have this like registered right there. Okay, so I've got it with glue. I'm going to take my crumb cake pad, and then I'm just going to go ahead and there it is. I've painted, I have colored my car. Okay, so now we're just going to take this and we're going to turn this like this. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to stamp the car, and then we're going to paint it. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to take my ink pad. I'm going to stamp the car. Bring in my other piece. Make sure that's just right, because you can kind of move it a little bit. And let me get my crumb cake. I'm going to wipe this off around my plate. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way. We're going to do the same thing. And there we go. Pull this off. Grab my other plate. I want to make sure this is lined up. There we go. One more. Okay, so then let's take this off and then let's color our car one more time. I'm going to have to move this just a little bit, but you can kind of see it's not hard to do. when you're using your Stamparatus. You can pretty much line this up to match. There you go. So now we have our cars stamped and colored, easy breezy, for our paper. Now we're going to take this off, and let me just go ahead and pull these plates aside. We're done with our Stamparatus. And now I'm going to go ahead and let's look at our sample here. So I have these cars kind of going around in a circle. So now I'm going to pull in the rest of these stamps here, and I'm going to kind of do a bit of eclectic stamping. I want to keep the car black, so the other pieces that I'm going to stamp are going to be in they're going to be in either soft suede or crumb cake. So here's my crumb cake, and I'm just going to go ahead and start out with my oil can, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring in a piece of paper back here and just kind of stamp this around. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in the let's see, I want to bring in some of these itty bitty little bolts, and I'm going to use both the stamp and the stamp off technique to just kind of create my pattern here for my bolts. You can see how this is kind of pulling together nicely. And then I can always add a little bit more and okay, so I just want to make sure I kind of capture my edges, and there's my paper. So now let's go ahead and take this, which is my favorite piece of all, is this wonderful oil slick. And I'm going to take this oil slick, and we're going to see how wonderful that is. We're just going to stamp, stamp off, stamp, and I'm going to kind of try to fit the shape of the oil slick around our car. And there you go. You see how the paper has kind of taken on a life of its own, and it kind of looks really, really good. So that's our paper that we're going to use for our card. So let's go ahead and put this away. Now, this is kind of the tricky part. The tricky part is how you're going to cut this cardstock and how you're going to make the cuts. I struggled a little bit with this, as you can tell. I made a couple of mistakes. So what I'm going to recommend is to take your scoreboard, okay, and grab your cardstock, And I'm using, this is why I made, and let me find my guide. Okay, here's my guide. Now my guide right here, I'm going to cut, I'm going to score at 3/4. And what I'm trying to do is I'm only going to score my outline of what I'm going to cut. So it's 3/4 all the way around. Okay, so that I can, so I'm just very lightly going to kind of score 3/4 all the way around. I'm kind of pressing down in the middle, like right there. And let's turn it over. Okay, so might even be better if we just did it like this, 3/4 all the way around, where you can kind of see where that's crossed and that. So there's kind of my box. So I'm going to cut, if you can kind of see my box here, I'm going to cut around here, and I'm going to leave one side of this is not going to be cut at all. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it on your cutter, which I'm going to do right here. I'm going to put this piece right in the middle of my cutter right there. Let's see. So that basically this will show up at being 3/4 right there. I'm going to turn on a little light over here so I can make sure I've got this. I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to pick up my cutter. I'm going to cut down to there, okay? Then I'm going to turn it over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Put my cutter right up there. I'm going to lay it down kind of at the top of my score line. I'm going to bring it down so it kind of met that end. And don't worry if it doesn't meet it totally. We can always use an X-Acto knife to finish it off. And this is my last side because we're only going to do three of these sides. Now you got to be a little careful because this little cutter sticks out. So you have to line that up, kind of get your cutter right at the point where you want to start, and you've got this nice little line here, and then you go straight down. Okay, so there it is. I've got 3 sides cut. All right, they may not be cut perfectly, but I'm going to grab my little mat here. And I'm going to grab a X-Acto, and I'm just going to make sure that these edges match, line up, that the score, that they are cut at the corners, and you can see that they are. Okay, so there is our first cuts. Now we're going to do the scores. So let's bring our scoreboard back in here. I turn this light off, and I want to score it at 3/4, which it is right there. I'm going to score it at 1 1/4, or it's 2 1/4. And there's my cut mark, so I want to score it right there. And then I'm going to score it at 3 3/4, which is right there. Okay, so now I have my perfect scores and my perfect cuts, which match my pattern. I think that's the easiest way to make this card. All right, so now that I have this piece, this is going to come and bend like this, and then this is going to bend like that. So that is how our card is going to bend forward. So, the first thing we want to do after cutting all those pieces is that we're going to grab our 3 1/4, which is this one, 3 1/2 by 1 1/4, and I'm going to need some tear tape. Now this is the one that is going to let me show you my example. This is the one right here that is going to have the sentiment on it. So you want to position, like where do you want your sentiment to be? And I'm going to put my sentiment, I'm going to put my card here. I'm going to grab my cards. I'm going to grab this thing that has Best Dad, and this is what I'm going to put down as my sentiment. I'm going to do this in black ink. Okay, so there is my sentiment, Best Dad in black ink. It's a nice clean stamp. Okay, so now we're going to put tape, because this is going to go taped on the back of your cardstock, when we are going to take this and we're going to score it. Here's another score thing. I'm going to take this little thing here, and we're going to score that we're going to score it at a half. So I'm going to turn it upside down because I want my sentiment to be facing out, and we're going to score this at 1/2. And that's what marks where we're going to put this on the back of our card. So we're going to stick this. Oops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to cut that little piece. So let me bring this back in, because we have to cut a piece right in here. And I think I have to cut it at, let me think. I'm going to cut from 1 7/8 to 3 1/8. So I'm going to put this at the 3 1/4 mark, which is right there. So I'm going to put this at the 3 1/4 mark right there. I'm going to lay this trimmer down. I've got lines right here, and I'm going to put this yellow cardstock here so you can see these lines right there. So hopefully you can see my lines, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this from 1 7/8. I'm going to kind of pick this up, and that's right about there, from 1 7/8 to 3 1/8. So I'm going to press down, I'm going to slide this down to 3 1/8. Boom, that's it. Okay, there's my slot. All right. Now this is going to go into this slot right here, because that's going to come out. Let's see. And we're going to then glue this to the back of that, so I'm going to need a piece of tear tape. And I thought I brought here's my tear tape. I'm going to take a piece of tear tape and I'm going to put it right here. Pick this up. Okay. Now this is going to go, so make sure it fits in your slot before you tape it down, because you want it to kind of go in the middle of your slot here. And then we're going to put, I'm gonna line up my score lines right there. Okay. So see, there you go. I got my my sentiment, everything right there. Okay. So now the next thing we do is we're going to take the 4 and 1 inch, okay, and we're going to line it up with the 4.5 right here, and we're going to kind of do a kind of a T-square like that. Now what I want to do is I want to take this and I'm going to get a little pencil here, because I just want to make sure that this is marked in the middle, and that's pretty much the middle of that. And then I want to take this one, and this is going to be marked in the middle right here. I just want to make sure that those are marked in the middle. Okay. So now the so this one is vertically. Let me see. One is shorter than the other one. No, they're both the same. Well, they should be the same. 1 1/4 and 1. Okay, so place this one here, and then we're gonna line this one up. This one up here. Okay, so that's the way that goes. All right, so I have my middle lines wrong, but that's okay. I can fix this. I can fix this, because what I'm doing off camera is I'm just trying to kind of line this up so I can find a middle, which is going to be this one, and then this one is going to go right there, which should go right there. Okay. And why I'm doing this, I didn't do this in the first card, but I'm doing it for this card because I'm trying to ensure that my paper will slide evenly. So that may be a little OCD on my part, but oh well, you don't have to do it when you make yours. I'm just trying to figure this thing out, kind of I guess the construction. So when I was in college, I went to architecture school, and when I was in architecture school, I made a lot of models. So sometimes I get into my little self, and I start measuring stuff and kind of fixating on things where I'm very visually oriented. I'm not mathematically oriented. I kind of get myself excited by trying to get more mathematically, try to apply mathematics where maybe they don't need to be applied, I guess. If that makes any sense. So I kind of fixate on stuff. So thanks for bearing with me. We all have our issues now. All right, so there we go. We should have this piece here. So now this is the optional piece. So this is where I'm going to grab this punch, and I'm going to grab, I have my little pile of goodies over here, including my magnets, and I'm going to try to find the little piece of scrap I wanted, and I guess, oh no, here it is. It's over here. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead. We just got this piece of scrap. I'm going to punch out this, and this is going to be my tab. So this is going to be the tab to this. But I think I'm going to put it on the back so that it doesn't, because see how this kind of gets caught right here. It doesn't seem to get as caught on the back. Maybe it does. So so I don't know how to fix that other than I'm just going to keep it like that, because either way it's going to get caught on something, right? So let's just go ahead and glue this thing on. Maybe I'll use tear tape. So let's just tear tape this piece on. And what I can do is I might want to, do is, I think I can do it even this way too, right? Think about that for a minute. If I do it down the center like this, okay, then I can trim this really back pretty far. So let's see how this works. I love making these fancy fold cards. They really make you think. And okay, so I'm going to trim that there, and then I'm going to, so I'm not going to leave as big of a lip as I did on the last one. Okay, I'm going to kind of trim it down a little bit, and that way, there, so it shouldn't be as over the top, but there, that's a nice little, there, that's a nice little thing, see? And maybe because it's not as thick as this one, maybe it'll slip in a little bit easier. All right, so now what we have to do is, now that we've got those done, we're going to turn this over, and I have this piece here. This is my open piece here, and I'm going to take this piece, and this piece is going to get it's going to get taped right on this one little piece right here. Okay, so I just, measure once, check twice. Let me find my sample here, because I want to just make sure. What happened to my sample that I was tearing apart and looking at? Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's my sample. You'll see how this T goes right on the back of this tab. All right, so now here's another measurement I should have taken to make sure this thing sits and opens well. My half, this is 3.5. What's half of 3.5? Should be right there. Okay, so that should be my middle. And then this, I have my middle there. Okay, so that should be my middle right there. So I'm just kind of lining up because I want this to move evenly. All right, and I'm going to put my tear tape right there. I had 4 viewers. I had 2 viewers. Oh, I've got got 2 likes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm working very hard tonight, trying to get this thing right here, but thank you for liking. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something that, that you appreciate. Thank you. Come back and see it when it's done. Sometimes people don't like live videos because I have a friend that says she just likes to spin through them really fast. All right, so now I'm just going to line that up. Right there. Okay. So there is our pole. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so now all I have to do is flip this puppy over, and we are going to put tear tape all around the edge where we don't touch any of these moving pieces so that we can put our backing on. So let's go ahead and put it right here on this side. Okay. And then we're going to go on either side of this right here, because that's our tab. And then we're going to put it on this side. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm really kind of, oh no, I don't want it down there, I want it up here. Okay, now this looks like it cuts it pretty doggone close. So I'm putting this tear tape down like this. And if I have any going off over here, I may have to trim that, only because I don't want it messing up my, see, it's kind of close right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of tear tape right here. All right. Here is our base card. Now, just to give it a little bit more pizzazz, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of that extra designer series paper I had right here. And we're going to do something where, you see how we're going to pull this up and it's going to say Best Dad, and then in the bottom we're going to have some of this designer series paper kind of coming out so that you can see that. Okay, so I don't need a lot. I mean, that's not a lot of space. So I'm probably going to do what, maybe, oh, maybe what, that was about 3 by 3. So maybe we'll do 3.5 by 3.5. Okay. And this is just another idea in order to kind of give it a little pizzazz, because this is going to fit. Actually, I could probably get a bigger piece. Let me find something. Yeah. Actually, I think I want this to be more like, if this is 5, I probably want this 4.5 by 4.5. So let's do this 4. Let's do this 4 by 4. And this is just, I'm guessing now. Okay, I'm going to put that one right there in the middle. Okay, because we're going to, let me just pull out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just putting this here in the middle. okay, because I'm going to put this one on top of it, and we're going to have the pull tab so you can see those mag wheels. All right, now I have all these pieces, got my tear tape all the way around. Now we're going to remove our tear tape. Okay, now we have this, and I'm going to have to stand up, so don't mind my head, but we're going to just lay this puppy right here on the center of this, and there we go. Okay, so, oh, thank you. All right, I'll drink it right here. Thank you.
How much to take it?
Okay.
So you won't be up all night.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, look how pretty that is. Ah.
Okay, honey, I'm just over here waiting for you.
Okay, I'm almost done. Yeah, this thing does not want to. What the heck happened here? This thing fit perfectly. Hold on, guys. Something went awry, and I don't understand what it could be. Why isn't this coming all the way down? Did I put tear tape somewhere I shouldn't have put it? Oh. Did this thing get caught on this paper? Yeah. All right, well, I guess because I put that extra piece of paper in there, remember that cardstock I put in the middle? These little tabs are not working for me at all. I'm wondering if I can shave this paper. Yep, that's what it was, ladies. And the only way I know that is because I forgot to remove, yeah. This, see, there, it closed. It closed. But then when I pull it out, boom. Okay, but then to close it again, you have to work it back, and the lip gets caught right there on that piece of cardstock. But I kind of shaved it. Smooth. Because this is rather thick, right? Because it's actually, that's like 3 pieces of cardstock right there. I mean, think about it. That's 3 pieces of cardstock. So that is rather thick. So it can. Okay, so I've shaved this paper very thin right there. So that should be able to go back in there. Well, I guess what I should have done is I should have stamped that instead of putting that designer series paper, because if I had stamped that, I would not have added another layer. I'm going to have to try that again, because I mean, you saw this one worked. This one worked fine, and maybe that's what it is. This is rubbing against another piece of designer series paper. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to finish this off, and I'm not sure if I'm even. Do any of the viewers have any comments on this? I mean, what do you think? Do you think this was a useless an exercise in futility to see how this is being put together, or did it give you some ideas? Let me know, because this is tricky going live. You know, it's very tricky. Very, very tricky. This is the first time I've gone live and got kind of stumped, because I was working on the fly, and I guess sometimes when you work on the fly, it don't always fly. So I'm going to put my Happy Father's Day right here. Let me know what you think. This is not my most favorite stamp. It's got too much stuff going on with this stamp to really be a clean stamp. I kind of like clean stamps. There, that's better. See how it got all dark down there? I wasn't really, not really crazy about that. And then I'm just going to grab this. We're going to run this through here, and I'm just running this piece through my die cut machine right now. And we will put this up on a dimensional. I'm kind of afraid to do anything fancy with this now, because it just doesn't seem like this is really working out in my favor. I knew this was going to be a tricky card, but thanks for hanging with me, if anybody's still there. All right, the key to putting this piece on is that you need to bend this and make sure that this corner is right there. So, I mean, you can kind of go over here and you can kind of draw a line. All right, so you want your glue, and in this case, I'm just going to use tear tape. You want your tear tape to be right there in order to be on your card. Like this, and we're just going to put this right here. And that is going to go C. Okay, and if this thing will ever close for me again, which I don't think it will. Yes, there it is. Okay, So, phew, boy, that was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. Thank you so much for joining me for making these cards. I hope that I've given you some tips and tricks so that you can construct these yourself, mainly to watch these little tabs, whatever type of tab you use. Maybe you don't use a tab, maybe you just let the paper stick out. Careful about, I would recommend stamping that base card at the back if you want to show off. And I do think this is lovely. I really do. Do you see how pretty that came out? It is lovely. It is a lovely card. This one worked out much better right there. But see, that's the red that's kind of in the background that you could stamp it with another design. But I'm hoping that you got some good ideas using the Stamparatus for coloring your cars, and you'll be inspired and ready for Father's Day. This is Kat Chancellor from Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Please like and share, and I'll have all the information on my blog here shortly. Thanks much. God bless. Have a blessed day.